Hi, my name's PJ. I'm your solo role player, and I'm a failure. That's right. I prepared for a game. I mean, admittedly didn't learn the rules properly, but I did think about it a lot, and I was really confident that I could do it. I had a cool story in my head. I had a cool character that I'd made up, and I spent a few hours, and I thought I had a good start. I had all the tools I needed. It's not my first outing in solo RPG, and my character just... I couldn't figure out what I wanted to happen. I couldn't figure out what he was going to do. He was trapped, running around in a artery-like tunnel, chasing the door to a train that kept running away from him, and I just kept rolling, and he kept failing, and I didn't know what to do. And so I realized at that point that while he was a failure, I was actually the biggest failure. And it felt bad. And so that's it. I tried and I failed. Clearly this hobby isn't for me. I'm a failure, and that's it. That was the channel. It's over. I mean, I guess to be fair, I could maybe I should ask Mythic and see if I should give up or not. I'm gonna ask Mythic. I'm gonna say, do I give up because I failed and accept that I'm a failure and not continue? Let's call that very likely. Should I give up? Extreme no. Okay. Well, that's good. That's good. I don't really want to give up. I mean, maybe it was just a bad session. Maybe I wasn't prepared enough. Maybe the system wasn't the right system for solo role-playing. Maybe I just didn't know it well enough. Maybe there are other systems out there and other sessions I can have where I'm not going to fail. Maybe I'll keep going. That's it. I think I'm going to keep going. You know, I think it's okay to fail. More seriously, that is not the first time that I failed. I was putting together an episode. I was a little bit late in doing it. It was the day before release day, and I'd had it bouncing around in my head. And I was really excited for it, and it just didn't work. And that's okay. I felt crappy about it for a little bit, but it's not even the first time that has happened. I think it's important for you out there to realize, especially when you listen to content creators or watch YouTube videos, we don't often show our failures because we're trying to create content that is interesting and engaging for you and positive at the end of the day. And so I can imagine that when you out there are getting started, or even if you're seasoned like I am starting to be, it's important to realize that failure isn't failure. Having a bad session isn't failure. It's all part of it, and maybe we learn something from it. I'm not yet sure what I've learned from the experience yesterday, but I am starting to glean that a little bit too. So what I want you to do, I want you to send in your failures. I want you to either write it, but better yet, record a voice message or something and send your failures to SoloRolePlayers Podcast@gmail.com, and I'm going to get together with some friends of the show, or a friend of the show, I'm not sure yet, and we're going to talk about failure, how we can avoid it, how we can think about the way we ask Mythic things, the way that we play our games, to better learn how to fail forward. That is, I think, a really important skill that we could all work on. So please do, write in, send in a message, tell me all about your failures. The bigger the better. Tell me about how they made you feel. Tell me about what happened in the story to make you fail, what you think about it now. Give it all to me. I really look forward to hearing that. In the meantime, I have for you today on the show a recording that I did a little while back. It's been sort of in the vaults as a backup for moments like this where I didn't have a new piece of content. I mean, it's still new for you. But where I needed to put something in, it's important to have a couple of them up my sleeve. This is the playthrough that I did a few months ago of Plight. Plight is the RPG which is made to be soloable by the fantastic Timothy Fogarty, who I interviewed a few months ago on the show. And this is my playthrough of it. there was a little bit of failure in that as well, which you can learn something from. So without further ado, I'm going to give you into that episode. I really look forward to hearing all about your failures, and don't worry, I'm really absolutely not going anywhere. So I hope you enjoy my playthrough of Plight. Hello and welcome back to the SoloRolePlayers Podcast. I'm back from a week of holiday. I'm back in Germany. The sun is shining for the first time in what feels like months. It has literally been months. And here I am sat inside a dark, dank audio recording room, ready to dive into this dark, dank world of Plight. Plight is another book that I've gotten off my shelf that came to my attention because I was emailed by the lovely Timothy Fogarty, who reached out to me just to say that he liked what I was doing on the show. And after that, I found out that he had created a little game called Plight. So I immediately went and bought it, and now, having not really read it at all, I had a bit of a look at some of the tables, and it already excited me. We're going to dive in together and learn this as we dive into the dark world of Plight. Now, a little bit of background on this. It says there's some inspirations, mechanical and otherwise, inspired by Can, Forbidden Lands, Into the Odd, Ironsworn, Knave, and Mork Borg. And it is specifically designed to be played solo. Solo is not the only way you can play, but solo was certainly part of the design intention from the beginning. And the book introduces us to the world thusly. The Queen is dead, poisoned in the night by some unscrupulous scab. Suspiciously, the High Priestess has dissolved the Royal Council, fracturing the realm and soiling the once stable relationship between dwarf, elf, and man. Her treachery has not gone unnoticed. So, I am going to go through the character setup and a bit of the basics, but I will edit lots, so you don't have to sit and listen to me make a character for an hour. It seems pretty straightforward. We need a set of polyhedral dice, pencils and erasers, and the play kit. Now, the play kit I have and have printed out, and it consists of a character sheet, a rules summary on the back of it, which is lovely to have, as well as a hex map. So already what I particularly like for a small little game like this, now I don't know how small it is in how small it is in feel once we actually get started, but it's an A5 book, it's a svelte, is that the word? Little book, svelte. It's a really nice little book, and immediately it starts hitting you with tables to completely generate your character. I'm going to make an entirely random character based on dice rolls and go along with whoever they turn out to be. First thing to do, as usual, is to name our character, and I am going to name them... I'm going to name them later once I find out what sort of person they are. So the first thing we're going to do is roll a background. We have a blacksmith. Similarly, I'm going to roll my attributes and choose my species after we've actually done all the features of the character and see if what makes narrative sense to me. Their physical features are... They are scrawny, with a chiseled face, long hair, and a cryptic speech. I like that. And as a trait, our particular character is cautious, nervous. They have a reputation for being just a little bit strange. And their misfortune was that they were condemned. They have 3 rations of food, 1 torch, and 8 coins. In addition to their coins, they also start with a halberd or a warhammer. Oh, that's nice. We're going to go with warhammer, which is D10 damage and bulky. As for armor, our character is wearing brigandine armor, Brigandine armor, which is a light armor. It's 0.25 armor. Don't know what that means yet, but I guess it's sort of on the lighter, leathery armor sort of thing, which is an interesting combination with the Warhammer. I like this strange person already. In terms of helmets and or shields, we have a leather cap, also at 0.25 armor. Then we have some trinkets, which are sentimental in nature, but otherwise worthless. They don't take up an inventory slot and may be replaced with an item of equal sentiment. And a trinket's purpose is to further develop the background of the character. Our strange leather-wearing warhammer-wielding, undeterminate named or specied character also carries with them an embroidered handkerchief. Now, an embroidered handkerchief doesn't immediately give me any ideas of some background to this story. However, re-rolling an 8, that gives us a land deed, which does perhaps tie into some story and background. Is it their land? Are they running away from something? Did they steal the deed? Did they win it at the pub? Oh, I like that. They won the land deed gambling at the pub, and they are on their way to go and discover what this probably ridiculous, terrifying, dangerous piece of land actually is, because I think, as well as strange, my character is probably also a little bit gullible. As for gear, we have ball bearings. For tools, we have a fishing rod. And as a bonus item, oh, that's a D4. As a bonus item, we have a bonus weapon. I'm going to roll on the weapon table again, re-rolling if I get a halberd. Or maybe we just have 2 warhammers. Let me see here. Rolling a D6 for the weapon table. That gives us, of course, it is another warhammer. We carry 2 warhammers, and I think we can barely wield one of them. Let's see. Or is that just too silly? Let us ask the Oracle. Is it too silly? 1 to 3 is yes, it's too silly. Yeah, it's too silly. Okay, so what else do we get for weapon? That's a 3. That is a short sword or mace. We're going to go with mace for that one, which is going to be a D8 damage. Maybe we can actually handle that thing depending on what kind of species we are. So this is a reasonably standard D20 system, but it's roll under, which I really, really love. I don't know why. I think it's because it makes the calculation much easier. I see a target number on my sheet and I can just roll below that. There's also advantage and disadvantage as per Dragonbane or D&D, or Dragonbane's a better comparison since that's also roll under. And that looks like kind of it for character. So we're going to come back now to our name and to our species. So the quest spark that got this character out adventuring in the first place and gambling for house deeds at the table is ancient wisdom. The oldest living elf possesses knowledge crucial to healing a blighted forest. The band must travel to find this reclusive sage and learn the secrets to the woods. Now, I think if anyone knows the Discworld, I have a fantastic map poster in front of me from the Discworld. Highly recommended. Really cool if you're as big a Discworld fan as I am. You may have guessed that from some of my other character choices in other games so far. In the Discworld, there's a character who is a human who was found by dwarves when he was abandoned as a baby. And he grew up as a dwarf, even though he is 6 feet tall. And he identifies as a dwarf, he lives like a dwarf, and technically the dwarves accept him because he has done all the dwarvish rites and those kinds of things. And so I think this is a similar story here. I think this dwarf, for some reason, was brought up by elves. Before the war, before there was so much conflict, in a remote area, in a forest or something, he has been sent out by the oldest living elf. No, hang on. He's been sent out to find the oldest living elf who has the knowledge, the crucial knowledge to healing the blighted forest. And the band must travel to find this reclusive sage and learn the secrets of the woods. That is our quest, and we are going to, once we get out into the real world, we are going to be a bit of a misfit. We're not going to fit in with the elves, we're not going to fit in with the dwarves or with the humans, and that's probably why we're considered a little bit strange. It's also why we're wearing leather armor. In fact, I'm going to go back and... Yeah, no, I think, and the reason we have a warhammer is that once we were sent out by our forest clan, we were sent out and said, someone said, you better take this warhammer so that you actually look a bit like a dwarf, otherwise they might get confused out there. So that is what we are doing there. Then there's a table for plot twists. I really like that. Now let's see. I'm also going to find this war table and see what is happening in the war at the moment. So we roll a d6 and a d3. That is going to be a 6 and a 2, which gives us a recent assassination attempt. So this isn't happening to us, this is happening in the world. A recent assassination attempt on a high-ranking commander was thwarted. Several elven arrows were recovered after the attack. NPCs will attempt to apprehend or attack elven PCs. Interesting. So I think this puts us in a little bit of an interesting position. I think we are wearing... What was our trinket again? Land Deed. Nah, I'm changing my mind on that as well. Our trinket is an elvish symbol around our neck that only elves of this ancient forest have. Only elves of this ancient forest have, and you wouldn't be caught dead wearing one if you weren't an elf. In fact, if an elf sees you wearing it, they may even attack you. And I don't think the elves in the forest sort of knew this, and our character certainly doesn't. So that means elves are going to be against him because he's wearing this, and humans and dwarves might also be against him because he is wearing the elvish thing. And because the elven arrows were recovered after the attack, NPCs will attempt to apprehend or attack elven PCs. Okay, so now we have a little bit of a story. Let's go back to a name. We are dwarven, but we have an elvish name. So an elvish name might be... Mora? Nah. Let's get out the good old table fables. Rowan. So Roenn, Rowan. So our little elven dwarf Rowan. Now we get to roll up our stats. 3d6 in order for each. So our strength is 8. Dexterity of 12. So we're not very strong for a dwarf. I guess maybe we're naturally strong, but it wasn't really... it wasn't one of our attributes that was actively trained in upbringing and, nature versus nurture and all that. So 12 dex and intelligence of 7. Not very smart, quite strange, surprisingly dexterous for an elf, but also not very strong. Roll a d6 to determine your starting and maximum hit points. I rolled a 2, that is fantastic. Now it says this reflects your character's ability to avoid damage. It doesn't indicate a character's health or fortitude, that's interesting, nor do they lose it for very long. If an attack takes a character's HP exactly to 0, that character receives a mark. Interesting. Now we have a modification because we are a dwarf, which is +1 strength, -1 intelligence. Really not the cleverest cookie. As with any good solo RPG session, or probably any RPG session for that matter, we are going to start in the middle of a conflict, in the middle of some action, and we have a little hex map guide here. I'm going to roll to see which type of hex we're on. I think it is safe to assume that we've been sent to a particular town or location or something. Maybe we've even been sent into another forest to... basically, we need to find out where this ancient elven recluse actually is at the moment. Let me look up some oracles here and see if it tells me anything. So, open question, we're going to roll on this. It's a d20 roll with an action descriptor and a theme. We have then confront, ancient, weapon. Love it! Okay, so things have changed. We have already been to see this ancient elderly elven recluse, and they have told us that the only way to cleanse the blight in the forest is to obtain this ancient, to confront the ancient weapon. And happily, in this book, at the very end, I just saw there is a single page with no explanation, which is just a cool line drawing of a sword, and it's called Barial's Blade, D10 plus D4 versus demons. Behold the bastard's blade, bane of the demon lord, slayer of the spider priests, spiller of the silver blood. We are totally delving into a dungeon to find this blade so that we can go and defeat the demon lord or someone whose blight is spreading into our beloved forest. So I'm going to say we are in the middle of a fight at the bottom of this dungeon, and we're going to get this blade straight away, I reckon. Maybe. I don't know. Let's see. Let's go straight into combat. First, I'm going to, in a random point in the middle of the map, I'm going to decide where the forest is, where home was. So we have been told by this ancient sage that there is a weapon capable of defeating the demon that is causing the blight to this forest. And the demon, this demon blade, what was it called? Baal's blade, I think. Barael's blade is hidden deep in the mountains to the north of our little home forest. And so we find ourselves in a dungeon. I think we're going to put ourselves, I don't know, a few floors down or something. We've survived a little bit, but we're still pretty green. And we're going to draw up our dungeon room right here. Also based on the dungeon oracle that is in the book, which gives a layout for all of the rooms of the dungeon, which is nice. So this dungeon is called 4, which means leader's description plus place. So it's going to be Barael's ancient claws. Barael's ancient claws are these towering mountains to the north of the dwarven forest, of the elven forest, where we come from, and this is where the blade has been hidden. It makes sense that we should try and travel across the map, though. What's a reason that we need to travel across the map? Perhaps the sword isn't here and it's actually somewhere else. I think that's going to be what it turns out. So let's say we are in the last room of this. We have fought hard our way down here, and now we're going to roll a d12 to generate the dungeon room that we're in. We're going to have a big battle here and find that the blade is not there and just a note which sends us somewhere else. So I roll a 4 here. That's like a corner. We don't really want that corner. Okay, here we go. 5. Nice open cavern here. And this cavern has a like a sarcophagi in the center of it. I've just decided while drawing it up, and this is with a big picture of a fancy sword on it. So this is definitely the place that we have to go. And inside, we are currently mid-battle with, let's find the bestiary here. Here we go, D20. We are mid-battle with an elemental. So here we go. Elemental is Strength 10, Dex 13, Intelligence 5, and 10 HP. So they attack. Their attacks are D4 air or water, D6 earth, and D8 fire. Let's choose what sort of elemental this is. I don't know what that means. Elementals are arcane conjurations resembling humanoids made of one of the 4 elements, air, earth, fire, or water. Void of pity. They will only obey their enchanters or the arcane territory they spawned from. So I don't know how we're supposed to decide what sort of elemental it is. D4, air or water? Okay, we just decide. So let's see what sort of elemental it is. I'm going to roll a D6. That is a earth elemental. So we have down here an earth elemental, which is rolling a D6 for attacks. I'm going to say that okay, let's set up the scene here. We are mid-battle. I'm going to do my now famous sense die, as people keep asking me, where's that table from? And it's not, it's just in my head. Sight, smell, sound, taste, touch, feel. So I think we were in here and we sort of hard fought. We got down here. We are thrilled to see that there is a sarcophagus here. And as we go over and touch it behind us, we feel... we feel like a chill in the air or the crackling of magic on our skin, and our very hairy backs prickle, and we turn around, and standing there is this huge earth elemental. It cannot be damaged by non-magical weapons. We're going to have to run to get the hell out of here. But first, I think we're going to try and hit it just to see that nothing happens. Happily, under this picture of the elemental, there is a big dwarf with a big warhammer. That's me! Okay, so let's just, even though we can't hurt this thing, we don't know that. So let's have a look at how combat works, and then we're going to try and attack, realize it doesn't work, and get the hell out of here, rolling up the dungeon as we go, and basically trying to run away, and we're going to map this dungeon in reverse. as we try and get away. I think the elemental is blocking the entrance we came in, perhaps, and so we're running out another way. As a standard affair, we get 2 actions on our turn, a major and a minor action, or 2 minor actions. So, melee attack, range attack, cast a spell, flee, combat, for example. So, minor actions would be draw a weapon, shove, or use an item. I think we're going to draw a weapon, and then we're going to ask, because we didn't have our weapon drawn, we were just leaning on this thing. So I'm going to ask, is it within striking distance of us? Let's look at what actual oracle it uses here for simple things. I do like sticking to one book if I can. So standard oracle is 2d6. Oh, that's right, a weighted oracle. I do like that. Are we within reaching distance of the earth elemental? Yes, we are. Okay, so we turn around as we draw our weapon and we take a big swing at this thing. I am going to roll to see what happens, even though I know it's not going to hurt it. When you're attacking, you roll your weapon's damage. So for me, that is a d10. It's bulky. I don't know what that means, but we'll come back to that. We roll a 5. Then you subtract the enemy's AR, armor something. Where's our little elemental here? Okay, it doesn't have any armor. You just can't hurt it with non-magical weapons. So we are going to now do a swing. Let me see here. Do we have to roll to hit? It doesn't look like it. It looks like you just roll. Interesting. So I think you're just going to roll your damage, which is kind of cool. And then if you're at a disadvantage, so you're attacking from a lower position or something, your attack is impaired and just reduced to a d4 instead of whatever the damage is. Likewise, if you're fighting from a position of advantage, like against a helpless foe or through a daring maneuver, the attack is enhanced and you roll a d12 instead of your weapon's normal damage. That's really simple and really cool because it means even with a dagger, if you can get in an advantageous position, like maybe a backstab, you still get to roll a d12. That's really cool. We don't need to roll to see if we hit. Let's do it anyway and just see what would happen if, for the sake of learning, if this wasn't something that we couldn't actually harm. So we are rolling with our Warhammer a d10. We roll a 2. It would then do 2 to its hit points, subtracted by its armor class, by its armor rating, AR. If we were to get something, so this is critical damage, because you're not rolling any crits in this. If we were to reduce a target's hit points below 0, it decreases the target's strength by the amount remaining. They must then make a strength check to avoid critical damage. Interesting. Additionally, some enemies will have special abilities or effects that are triggered when their target fails a critical damage check. Any PC that suffers critical damage cannot do anything but crawl, grasping for life. If given aid and rest, they will stabilize. If left untreated, they die within the hour. Interesting. So that's cool. I don't know how the critical damage works just yet, as if every creature can take critical damage, but that is not yet important because we turn and we swing at this thing, and I think the Warhammer just gets stuck in the earth, in the earthiness of this beast, and does clearly absolutely no damage. And we're going to ask, does it get stuck? Is that interesting? It might be interesting because it might be a reason why he runs. Does it get stuck? Yes, but. Yes, the hammer gets stuck in it, but it does cause an opening for our Rowan to get the hell out of there. And he is poised now to run. And I think that means the enemy isn't going to get an attack. So the enemy is going to skip the turn. That's the yes, but. We are then going to run for the exit and see what room we come into next. Believe it or not, in all my years of recording everything, I have never not hit record and continued to go on with a performance or a talk like this. And it's finally happened. So I've gotten that behind me now, thankfully, or unless it's a sign of bad things to come. But what happened is I had to duck out quickly to take my son to the dentist. I came back, I did hit record, except I didn't reset the audio interface because that had been turned off. It's technical, it doesn't matter, it was silly, I should have checked, but I was excited to continue. Happily, not much happened, so let me fill you in. I looked up to see if we could find if there was like a dodge move or something like that, and although there isn't, there is a flee action, and that basically means that if you can roll under your dexterity, then you successfully flee the combat. As Rowan got to the edge of the room into this new corridor, the Earth Elemental swung behind him. We did a successful dex roll for the flee, and we managed to flee unharmed into the next room. We then asked the Oracle if he was chasing us, and it was a definite yes, and I took that to mean that he was faster than expected, as in the Earth Elemental was faster than expected, and we wouldn't outrun him easily, meaning we would have to do this dexterity check every room. I then checked to see if there was an exit at this room to the surface, because it was two corridors that split, and there wasn't, so we kept running. In the next room, after another successful evasion, I just rolled up if there was anything in there. It said no, but. So I rolled on the normal Oracle open question table just for the descriptor, and it said arcane. So I decided that there was an even further increased sense of magic in the room. Maybe we woke up some magic in here by touching the sarcophagus. Something else I said is that I'm well aware that the details and logical thread of what's going on here is pretty flaky at the moment, and I don't mind. That's one of the beautiful things about solo role-playing. I can have all these sorts of inconsistencies and have new ideas erase old ones as I go, and no one is there to know about it, except for me, because you lot all get to hear about my inconsistencies. But that's okay. Hopefully it gives you a bit of courage, if that is the right word, to just sort of try this stuff yourself. So I decided I'm going to get out of here and either figure out along the way what happened, as in, did I find a map, or did Rowan find a map in the sarcophagus, or some other indication as to where this blade was, or maybe something else in the dungeon we'll come across. I'm going to work that out later, and that is totally okay. You have my permission to do this too, and play one of these games completely unprepared if you're willing to go for a wild ride by the seat of your pants. Back to this room, we avoided another attack, the Earth Elemental, and although this room... I asked, is there anything in this room? And it said no, but... And I decided that that was no, but there is a glow coming from further ahead, and an even stronger sense of more magic. So maybe we're going to find a magical weapon that we can attack this thing with. Or die trying. So that's what's happened. We then ran into another room, which is another corridor. So we're not checking for enemies there. We are now going to do another flee roll to see if we can escape once again. And if I didn't say this already, as we ran into this room out of the last corridor, we saw this arcane glow coming from the next area, and that sort of made Rowan hesitate, and he turned. As he turned, he realized that the Earth Elemental was right behind him, two fists up in the air in a wrestling sort of move, going to smash down on him, and he was able to just duck out of the way and stagger into the next room, which happened to be this hallway. Doing a dex roll to get out of this hallway into the next room. This thing is relentless. I'm going to ask... Next room, I'm going to ask if it's still chasing us. So another dex roll here, and that is a 3. We managed to duck out of his way again, our target number being 12. And we go into the next room. I quite like these little dungeons. So this is a dungeon page. It has drawings of different types of dungeon rooms on a D12 chart, and you can just roll and see what the room might look like. I think it's very welcome, and you can easily modify this with all sorts of different things. It might be a little limited in the long run, and happily I just managed to find and place the order. I mean, it wasn't hard to find, but I placed an order for the Ironsworn Delve deck, which I saw on one of Manalone's videos, and one of my patrons mentioned it as well. That is quite in-depth for delving, and although I haven't read Delve, it looks like those cards can be used for a lot of things, and I'd quite like to build up a little collection of of cards and tools that I can use in a lot of these games, especially these Dungeon Delvey OSR type games. So, we are rolling to see what the new room is, and it is an 11. This is a nice big open space with 3 other exits. This looks like a central hub to this map, and there may well be something magical in here. Is it an item that we can use to defeat this beast, or is it something that is going to definitely kill us? We will find out in just a moment once I draw this squiggly room. Okay, the squiggly room is successfully drawn. Is there anything in here? That is a 4, which makes it a yes, and yes, there is something in here, and it is the source of the magic, but we do not know if it is friend or foe. Yeah, we do. It's a cool weapon. That's what it is. So, this is a magical weapon. It is a sword in the stone type situation. Maybe it is a statue in the middle of the room holding up this weapon. I don't know if it is the magical Balin's sword. Let's find out. It could just be here. Maybe it wasn't... Oh, maybe... Okay, it's not the sword. It's not the sword because in case I do decide to continue this campaign, I want the quest to the sword to be a big epic thing. So it's not the sword, but I think there is a statue of armor in the middle of this room, and there is so it's not a statue of armor, but rather 4 figures back to back, each holding a different weapon. And I think one of these weapons that they are holding is going to be the source of the magic. Can we clearly see? We're going to have to roll an intelligence roll to see if we can figure out which of these weapons it is, and then I'm going to decide what the weapons actually are. So an intelligence roll for poor Rowan is not very likely. He's going to need to roll a 6 or under to see if he can figure it out. He is, however, smart enough to figure that he wants to try one of these weapons because he can sense the magic in the room, but he just might have to do trial and error until he finds the right one, possibly risking death and dismemberment along the way. Doing an intelligence check, can he tell north, east, south, or west side of the statue which one of these is the magical one? And we roll a 2. He does. Not because he's super smart, but there is a crackle in the air and there is a glow coming from one of the weapons. I am going to roll on the weapon table and see what kind of weapon it is. Melee weapons here. It's not a table, but I'm just going to roll it anyway. There looks like there is 2, 4. There's probably about 20, so I'm going to roll a d20. That gives us a 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. It is a glaive. Oh, nice. So a glaive, if I remember correctly, thinking back to Monster Hunter days, is like a blade on the end of a stick. And so that's what it is. And he sees this crackling weapon out of one of these things, and he is going to have to do another dodge in order to run up to it. Rolling under 12, that's the wrong die. Rolling under 12, and we get a 6. We're good on rolling low, that is for sure. Maybe that's why I like roll under games. And he manages... Okay. Setting the scene again. Sight, smell, sound, taste, touch, feel. He feels the energy in this room pinpointed to this one statue holding this golden, glowing, crackling glaive. And he knows without a doubt that that is what he needs in order to defeat this thing. So he... That's the doorbell. Are we still recording? Yes, we're still recording. The doorbell was my son, who had lost the chain off his bike for the first time, but with a successful crafting roll, we were able to get it going again. Okay, where were we? Ah yes, we had just dodged another attack from this elemental as we were going to leap for this glaive and turn around and fight this thing face to face. So... Again, Rowan manages to successfully duck under the fists of this big elemental and slips around to the other side of the statue and grabs this glaive. We're going to do a strength check to see if we can pull it out. That'll be a d20 rolling under 9, and that is a 10. So, unfortunately, we're there tugging at it when the thing comes to hit us again, and now it finally gets to get an attack in, hitting with a d6. I only have 2 hit points. This could be bad. He rolls a 1. Excellent. So, I don't have any armor because the way armor works, how I looked it up, is...
Hi, you playing Spin Live?
No,
What else?
it's called Plight.
What's happening? Or are you just creating character?
No, I'm mid-session.
Oh, sorry? What's happening?
So we're down here trying to find a magical weapon that'll help us save our forest, because we are a dwarf who was brought up by elves and he thinks he's an elf. And when we came down here, the sword wasn't there, but there was a big earth elemental, and now we're running out of there trying to escape because we can't hurt the earth elemental without a magical weapon. We found a statue that has a magical weapon in it, surprise, surprise, and now we're trying to pull out the glaive from the statue to fight the earth elemental, and we weren't strong enough, and so we got hit. And he hit us for 1 hit point. Happily only 1, and now we're down to 1. That's what's happening. Any more questions?
No.
Excellent. May I continue?
Yes.
Good. Shut the door. We are going to pull on this thing again, and now that we have loosened it up a bit, I'm going to roll with advantage. Sure, why not? And we get it on both dice, so that is happy. We manage to pull at this thing, and it finally slips out. And now, is that a major action? Let's ask the Oracle. Was that a major action to pull it out? No. Yes, it was. That's a 6. Yes, it was a major action. So it is going to get another shot at us as we pull this thing out. It managed to... Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. As we're pulling on this thing, this earth elemental swings down from the other side and hits just onto our the side of our body as we do it, and just sort of grazes. And it grazes us. It hurts, but not too much. And now as we just manage to slide this thing out, it gets another shot in, doing another 1 damage. I like this die. However, that does bring us down to 0 hit points. This is an interesting difference in this mechanic insofar as I have read. At 0 hit points, you don't die. What happens at 0 hit points is, when you get to 0 hit points, you reduce your strength by the remaining amount still left to reduce. And then you have to do a strength check to avoid critical damage. If your strength gets down to 0, that is when you die. If your dex gets down to 0, you are paralyzed. If your intelligence gets down to 0, you are delirious. And with those 2 situations, you can't do anything else until you manage to recover it somehow. Do we get critical damage now? Yeah, decreases a target's HP below 0. Hang on, let me read this word for word. Damage that reduces a target's HP below 0 decreases a target's strength by the amount remaining. They must then make a strength check to avoid critical damage. Okay. Additionally, some enemies will have special effects. Any PC that suffers critical damage cannot do anything but crawl, grasping for life. If given aid and rest, they'll stabilize. If left untreated, they die. So basically, either I die or I don't. For the sake of this episode, I am going to assume that I don't yet die. It says, damage that reduces a target's HP below 0 decreases the strength. They must then make... Okay. It's not critical damage. I'm ruling it because my strength hasn't been reduced. So, this is our last chance. We managed to pull this thing out, and we get an attack. Now, a glaive is a D10. I'm going to call this a special glaive. Do we get an advantage because it's a large enemy? I'm going to ask the Oracle. Do we get an advantage because A, it's magical, or B, we get a... because it's a large enemy? Yes, we do get advantage. Hang on, that's a 5, so that makes it... Yes, just yes. Okay, so we get to roll a d12 against this thing. It has 10 hit points and no armor. We roll an 8, so immediately we slide this thing out of the statue and just turn after receiving another graze to the leg or something like that. We turn and we thrust it into the earth elemental, and it looks very, very surprised that this actually hurts it, and it staggers back looking surprised and very, very angry. And then it is going to try and attack us again, which probably would kill us, so maybe we get a chance to run. Is it surprised enough that we get a chance to run? And before we even do that, I'm going to look up how healing works, because if we can't heal, I mean, I don't know, maybe like in video games, we can just munch on a biscuit and get some hit points back. We can short rest, taking 1 round. Okay. A minute or 2 of rest will heal D4 plus 1 hit points, but will leave the character exposed. Well, leaving us exposed doesn't help us all that much, really, does it? Maybe we have to keep running. I think we're going to have to try and keep running. Did our attack shock it enough to give us a chance to keep running? 6, yes it did. Hang on, 6 is a yes. At least it's a small book, easy to flick through. It's just a yes. Okay, so we managed to get a chance to flee. Now this was on the east side of the statue, so we're just going to run out the eastern door. Maybe see if we can hide somewhere. Wonder how hiding works. And see if we can recover a little bit. Although only having 2 hit points means we're always at risk of just dying on a single hit. Seems rough. So in this next room, as we run out, this thing staggers back and we duck between its legs this time, gripping the new magical weapon, and we run out the door into the next room, which is a 7, which is a dead end. Excellent. So we run out into this dead end, and I wonder if it follows us. Does it follow us immediately? That is a 10. I'm pretty sure that is a no. Oh, look, there's more dungeons. Okay, so it's a D12 for cave terrain, but proper dungeons have a D20. That's nice, and they also have doors. Okay, well, I guess we're in a cave. So, that was a 10. 10 is a no, but. Does it follow us straight away? No, but. I guess the but is there's someone else in here. Are they friend? They are not friend. Okay, so we have another enemy in here. Our life and episode may well be short. What is in here? Ooh, magical effects. Okay, slow down a second here, because along their travels, characters may find enchanting relics, interesting potions, or one-of-a-kind scrolls. The Arbiter, who's the GM, may imbue them with the included spell list, or generate a new magical effect utilizing the tables of these 2 pages. So, here's what is going to happen. There is someone in there, and in shock, let's see what it is. It is a ghost. What's a ghost do? Necrotic touch. They have critical damage, cannot be damaged by non-magical weapons. Okay, excellent. So there is a ghost in here, and in shock, we jab at it and we squeeze the thing, the glaive, in the right way, and we realize that it has a spell built into it. Magic. Okay, so anyone can cast a spell by holding a spellbook in both hands, must be both hands, and read its contents aloud. And add a fatigue to their inventory, occupying 1 slot. Interesting. If the PC is deprived, don't know what that means, or in danger, the Arbiter may require the PC to make an intelligence check to avoid ill effects from casting the spell. I'm going to ignore that for a sec. Arcane disasters. Relics. Relics are items imbued with a magical spell or power. They do not cause fatigue. Great. Relics usually have a limited use, as well as a recharge condition. Excellent. A few examples. Okay. Is it a spell, or is it a magical effect? Let's go with a spell. So we're going to roll up a random spell and not cheat and say that it's just healing. D100 spell table, I like it. Black first, no, red first. 22 is detect magic. That is really annoying. Unless it's going to be the way that we find... Okay, it is exactly what happens. Sorry, things going on in my head. We can't see the ghost. However, when we step into the room, our thing starts glowing and it highlights the ghost. So this glaive is detecting the magic of the ghost. It's not a spell, it's a permanent ongoing thing. And we are going to find, when we do get out of this dungeon, that it is going to be the thing that leads the way to the Blade of Balaran. Or what was it called? The Blade of Barael. See, I told you we'd work out how we were going to find the sword. So we see this ghost, and in a panic we realize the power of this glaive, and we get to do an attack, and it is a D12 with our big, scary, magical thing. And it is a 12, and we skewer the ghost with this thing, who also looks surprised to die for a second time. And as we do that, we pull the glaive out and turn around and see, is the thing still coming? Yes, it is still coming. No rest for the wicked. The thing comes into the room and we brace ourselves for another round of combat. If we succeed this, we can kill it before we die, or we can try and run away first. No, we're going to turn around and we're going to face it. I'm assuming that it was the start of a new round when this thing came in. Let's be a little bit less kind to ourselves. I think we need to make a dex check. So coming back to initiative, players take their turn before the enemy, unless there's a risk that the PC is surprised. I'm going to say there's a risk that we're surprised now, even though we do expect this thing to be coming. So I'm going to give myself advantage on a dex check to see if we still get to go first. Dexterity 12, rolling 2d20, and you had a 13 and a 14. Well, I gave myself all the chances I could without cheating too much, so it gets another hit on us, and we're going to see what happens when a character dies. Well, actually, it won't kill us just yet, but we will get a critical injury. We roll a 3, reducing our strength down to 6. If we cannot roll lower than a 6 now, we are going to suffer a critical injury and not be able to do anything until we die. That doesn't sound fun, does it? Okay, here's what happens. We are going to get a mark. Now, I think that's what's supposed to happen when it goes down to 0 hit points. That was 3 damage. The mark is breathless. You're sent flying and land hard, leaving you winded. You're deprived until you can take a long rest. Roll d6 if the total is higher than your max HP and take the new result. Oh, what? Okay. I don't want to die just here, just yet. I think probably in real life of Plight RPG, we would be dead. If we can't roll under the strength tech to avoid critical damage. Any PC that suffers cannot do anything but crawl, grasping for life, if given aid and rest. Okay, we can die and maybe someone can save us. I don't know. Let's roll and see if we get under our strength. Ha ha! I could lie and tell you we did, but no, we got a 7 and our strength is 6. That is rough. That is really rough. No, I think that's it. I think that is our first character death of the entire Solo Role Players history. I'm probably too kind on myself sometimes, but now we actually die. But never fear, because this is just the start of somebody else's story when they come into this dungeon for the same reason, being sent out by the elves to find this thing, and they're going to find the body of Rowan and his glaive and use it to go and save the world, I'm sure. Thank you for listening to the Solo Role Players Podcast. I did want to get into some more overland travel, so let's just maybe talk a little bit about that now and a little bit about my feelings about the game. So traveling is pretty straightforward. You would just go through hexes, and as you go into a hex, you roll 2d6 and draw in whatever the result is. Again, 2d6, which makes it weighted, which I like. I like weighted dice. I feel like just a coin flip or just a straight random roll, especially when it comes to things like terrain, can make it feel a little bit non-organic and a little disconnected. If you could have mountain, forest, mountain, forest, mountain, you know. So I do like the fact that that's weighted. I also like the fact that the oracle is weighted. So that's cool. And then activities you can do, you can delve if you discover a location. I don't know how you actually discover. Oh yeah, okay. So if you roll a 2 or a 3, 2 to 3 on the d6, it's actually a city, but no villages, I guess. You can explore, forage, hunt, sleep, all those kinds of things. Then you have rules for delving, darkness, searching. There's traps, difficulty of travel, all good stuff. And this is really interesting. This is a warfare mechanic. So this says that tension is high, the seeds of distrust have been long sown, elf, dwarf, and man are on a path towards destruction. War is imminent. And basically what happens is every time the GM or yourself, if you're playing solo, you roll a die each morning. And if you roll a 1, something called a casus belli is activated. And the die is determined by the GM. So this, I'd forgotten this. But this is a really interesting mechanic. So basically, at the beginning of the game, or when you start out, and based on the things that happen in the world, you'll choose which die to roll. If the actual war is years away, you roll a D100. If it is a matter of weeks, a D6, imminent, a D2. And basically, if you roll a 1, so similar to that resource die thing, if you roll a 1, then war happens. Or at least leading up to war happens. And then you roll on this table I did at the beginning, which is going to change NPC's reactions to the species, your species, or the PC's species. So that's really interesting. And then at a certain point, it's all out war, as far as I can tell. There are hirelings, services, structures, so on. What was the other interesting thing I wanted to point out here? Yeah. So how do I feel about the game? This is easily, by far, the least I have been prepared for any of these playthroughs. In complete contrast to my last playthrough of Forbidden Lands, where I was by far the most prepared and still felt wildly under-prepared for playing that game. Not that it's super complicated, it's just it needed a lot more getting used to, at least for me, because I hadn't tried a system like that before. This, to me, was quite easy to get into because it is just a D20 roll under system, and it shares a lot of similarities with a lot of OSR stuff, but has some nice little touches. I think this is really cool. I think the biggest strengths of this thing for solo play are tables like these, what were they called? Narrative sparks or narrative oracles, where you have quest sparks. I mean, you can roll one quest spark, and that can really help, even before rolling up your character, for example, and that can really help put you in a direction. There's also plot twists then. So you could include a mechanic where if something happens, if you ask a question and you get a double 6, for example, then there's a plot twist, something like that. Or you could roll a D12 along with it, and if you ever rolled a 1, there's a plot twist, something like that. Or if you just feel like your story's getting a bit stale, you can roll a plot twist. Some examples of plot twists are a cursed artifact that was thought to be destroyed resurfaces, causing chaos. So that can be a whole big thing in itself. I think that is a huge strength to games like this. And there are just a really good, solid amount of tables. You have NPC oracles. Let's roll up someone just for example. Maybe this is the person that comes down and finds Rowan's body. So we would have a dwarven male called Björn, and his ambition is to ascend in a prestigious faction. So that is really all you need as the solo player, at least for me, to be able to spark enough to just roll and just keep going. They have roles, the healer, artisan, outcast, merchant, so on. You have faction oracles, you have what their focuses are, who their leadership is. You could really quickly and easily, either as a GM or as a solo player, build up quite of a world. Maybe you want to build up a bit of a world first and then throw your character into it. That could be fun, and that is something that I want to try on one of these episodes with the Tome of Adventure Design, and actually build up a world first and then put someone in it, which is something I've never done before. Just rolling for damage and not to hit, I don't know. I feel like, in theory, I feel like that is a good thing. Reducing dice rolls, I think, can be a good thing. It's just might be in danger of just roll, who gets the highest, and just, war of attrition until someone dies. It seems pretty harsh with this critical injury thing, especially considering you only roll a d6 to get your initial HP. I didn't see a way you could improve your HP. Let me see if there's something about leveling up. Haven't seen anything about experience. It doesn't appear to have anything about leveling up, which is cool. You don't need to level up, although it does feel like you want to be able to work towards something. I mean, getting magical, like stronger weapons and stuff. But at the end of the day, D12 is the biggest you roll for damage. And then you're just rolling damage against someone else's damage, buying lots of armor maybe. I don't know. The fact that you add in that you don't have a dodge action, as far as I can tell, means that in combat your actions are attack or run. Or magic. So I don't know. Some of this stuff may absolutely be in there and accounted for, and I haven't read it. I'm just going through it. A brief look at the Solitaire rules section just tells you about prep. Either you can prep in advance, don't over prep, or you can just do it as you go along like I do. Keep in mind the spirit of the law and not the letter. That is super, super important. And if you feel like now, like I could have done, and maybe would have done, but I've never actually died in one of these playthroughs, I figure it's about time, is I could have just said, although we are dying, someone else comes in, or I get a final attack with my thing. He only had 2 hit points left. That all would have been fine and would have continued the story. Yeah. So that's that. I would like to give this another go. I think I'd like to pick it up with another character who comes down and continues this quest, maybe a long time in the future even, maybe after the war has broken out and things have gotten really dire. I'm not sure. And I do think for me, I was talking about on the Discord about it this morning, that I do want some games that don't require sort of full narrative from me. I love the full narrative stuff. I love the big games, but for me that always means recording. And I'm not always in a position I can record. I don't always have the headspace to record. I don't always have the purpose. I mean, I can't put out every episode of every game that I want to play, or I don't want to not play games because I don't want to record them. So I do want some games that I can play that don't require me to actually record or me taking a lot of notes. I record because I don't want to take notes. So this one I can certainly see as a candidate for just playing along with the canon in my head as I go and just doing quick little sessions until I die, that kind of thing. And I really like that idea, especially for an OSR. I think the roll under is great. I think the tables are great. I think the warfare is great. I haven't played enough of these types of games to know what my favorite is yet. I do have Knave 2E here that I want to try out. I hear a lot about. I have Shadow Dark sitting there waiting for me to play, which I feel like maybe the one for me. I do really love White Box. I would continue with that, especially since I backed the Cyclopedia thing, which has more stuff. If anything, I found White Box was just a little light. Even though this is a thinner book, I feel like there's more in there than White Box in terms of being able to just pick up and play. Anyway, I am rambling now. If you have any questions about this or other games, please do get in touch with me. You can email me at SoloRolePlayersPodcast@gmail.com. You can find PJ Sack on Reddit somewhere or on Blue Sky. Thank you for being with me today on the Solo Role Players Podcast. I hope that wherever you are and whatever you're doing, if you are not currently playing a game, I hope you are imagining what is happening in the story of the game that you were or will be playing next. So until next time, don't let your dwarf die. Bye.